The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the low murmur of dozens of species, each murmuring in their native tongues. At the center of the massive, domed hall, a holographic display flickered to life, revealing the rotating image of a pale blue planet, Earth. The humans continue to resist, Chancellor Vorthak of the Zelvari Dominion hissed, his mandibles clicking in irritation. Primitive, reckless, yet troublesome. Across the chamber, Admiral Shulrax of the Phyrexian clans, a reptilian strategist, scoffed. They are an undeveloped race, bound to their emotions. Break their command structure and they will fold. Vorthak's compound eyes darkened. Then why have our forces suffered 3 consecutive setbacks at their hands? Silence settled over the council. The unspoken truth hung in the air. Humans were not reacting as expected. They had been catalogued as a minor species, barely worthy of notice. And yet, somehow, they were proving to be a problem that needed to be solved. Solera, 9 orbital station, neutral territory. Captain Elias Eli, Carter adjusted his uniform's collar, scanning the bustling docks of Solera 9 with practiced ease. The space station was a hub of interstellar diplomacy, a neutral ground where species met to negotiate. Today, humanity was supposed to establish its first official peace accords with the Dominion. Instead, Carter had the distinct feeling he was walking into a trap. Beside him, Dr. Sambi Patel frowned as she studied the station's layout on her wrist console. "Something's off," she muttered. Carter glanced at her. "You see something I don't?" "The docking manifests don't match the station's traffic records," she said, eyes sharp with calculation. "There are at least 3 Zelvari warships docked, but they aren't listed in the official logs." Carter exhaled slowly. "Damn it." Dante Wildcard Vasquez smirked, running a hand through his short, dark hair. "So what's the play, Cap? 'Cause I gotta say, I'd rather not get turned into bug food today." Sergeant May, Iron Fist Park, head of the pragmatist, checked her sidearm. "We abort. We weren't briefed for a combat op, and we don't have reinforcements." Carter hesitated. If they turned back now, humanity would look weak. But if they walked into an ambush unprepared, the decision was made for him. The moment they stepped into the station's main corridor, security doors slammed shut with a deafening clang. The ambient chatter died instantly. Hundreds of alien bystanders froze in place. A holographic image materialized before them. Chancellor Vorthak himself, his mandibles twitching in satisfaction. "Humans," he intoned, "your resistance is over." They should have known better. Blaster fire erupted from both sides of the corridor. Civilians screamed, scattering in all directions as armored Zelvari soldiers advanced. Carter's team dove for cover behind a stack of cargo crates, weapons drawn. This was supposed to be a peace talk. Patel shouted over the gunfire. Vasquez grinned wildly, already priming a small explosive. "Yeah, well, bugs are known for their manners." Carter fired 2 precise shots, dropping a Zelvari soldier mid-charge. "We need an exit now." Patel's fingers flew across her wrist console. "There's a maintenance shaft 2 corridors down. Then we move," Carter ordered. The team sprinted through the chaos, zigzagging between cover as blaster bolts scorched the walls around them. A Zelvari brute lunged apart, but she pivoted smoothly, delivering a brutal strike to its thorax that sent it sprawling. They reached the maintenance shaft, only to find it sealed by a reinforced security lock. "Patel," Carter snapped. "I'm on it." She crouched by the panel, hacking furiously. Vasquez lobbed a grenade down the hall. "Just bought us 30 seconds. "You're welcome." More soldiers swarmed the corridor. Carter's mind worked furiously. They were outnumbered, outgunned, so they had to be smarter. "Patel, override the station's gravity controls," he said. She shot him a look. "That could kill everyone on board." "Not if you time it right," he said. "Set a 5-second no-gravity pulse." She hesitated only a moment before nodding. Hold on to something. The moment she activated the command, gravity vanished. The Zelvari, and used the sudden loss of weight, flailed wildly. Carter's team, expecting the shift, used it to their advantage, pushing off surfaces, kicking off walls, moving with controlled bursts of momentum. Carter drove his boot into a floating soldier's head. Park used her rifle as a makeshift anchor, grappling her way to a stunned enemy and dispatching him with brutal efficiency. Vasquez, laughing like a madman, twisted midair and fired a precise shot into a cluster of Zelvari, sending them careening into each other. Patel, still tethered to the control panel, disabled the gravity just as suddenly as she had cut it. The Zelvari crashed to the ground in a heap. The humans landed on their feet. The maintenance shaft door hissed open. "Move!" Carter shouted. They dropped into the shaft just as another squad of soldiers stormed into the corridor. The last thing the Zelvari saw was Vasquez giving them a mock salute before slamming the hatch shut. Elsewhere, Chancellor Vorthak watched the footage in stunned silence. His forces had outnumbered the humans 10-1. They had prepared the perfect ambush. And yet, the humans had adapted. No hesitation. No fear. Just cold, efficient improvisation. A gnawing sensation crept into Vorthak's mind. A feeling he had never associated with humans before. Unease. "They are not like the others," Admiral Shurax murmured, watching the same footage with narrowed eyes. Vorthak's mandibles twitched. "No," he admitted. "They are worse." For the first time, the Zelvari Dominion understood what they were dealing with, and it terrified them. The emergency lighting in the maintenance shaft flickered as Carter's team pressed forward, their boots clanking against the metal rungs of a ladder leading deeper into Solera 9. "We're clear for now," Patel whispered, glancing at her wrist console. "No immediate pursuit, but that won't last." "Good," Vasquez muttered. "I was getting bored." Carter shot him a look. "Let's keep moving. We need to get off the station before the Zelvari reorganize." Park, ever the pragmatist, tightened her grip on her rifle. "Even if we escape, what's our next move? They just declared open war on humanity." Carter grimaced. She was right. The Zelvari had turned a diplomatic mission into an ambush. Humanity had no choice now. They had to fight. But how you fight an enemy that vastly outnumbers you? Meanwhile, aboard the Zelvari flagship, the War Council convened. Chancellor Vorthak's mandibles twitched as he replayed the security footage from Solera 9. His warriors, the elite of the Dominion, had been outmaneuvered, humiliated, and thrown into disarray by a small team of humans. "This is unacceptable," General Xis snarled, his four-clawed arms gripping the edge of the holodeble. "They are nothing but primitives. We should have crushed them easily." Vorthak's compound eyes darkened. "Then explain why we did not." Silence filled the chamber. Admiral Shurax, ever the strategist, tapped a claw against the holo display. "It is their unpredictability. Humans do not fight like the other species we have conquered. They are unbound by rigid tactics, unburdened by tradition. They adapt." "Adaptation is not a weapon," Xis scoffed. "Then why are you struggling to counter it?" Shurax shot back, his reptilian tail flicking. Vorthak's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Enough. If brute force will not suffice, we must find another means to bring them to heel." He turned to a subordinate. "Deploy suppression squads across human control sectors. Cut their supply chains. Quarantine their colonies." He narrowed his gaze. "Let us see how well they adapt when the walls close in. The escape and the first counterattack." Carter's team emerged from the maintenance shafts into a cargo bay near the station's outer docking ring. A half-dozen Zelvari patrols stood between them and an unattended freighter. Park, ever professional, assessed the situation. 6 of them, 2 armored, standard-issue plasma rifles. Vasquez cracked his knuckles. "I say we take the loud approach." Patel sighed. "The loud approach gets us killed." Carter, however, had another idea. "Vasquez, got any flash charges?" Vasquez grinned. "Cap, I always have flash charges." "Good. Toss 1 into their field of view. Park, when they're blind, take the 2 heavies. Patel, you and I will handle the rest." The plan was simple. It was also the kind of plan the Zelvari would never expect. A second later, a blinding flash engulfed the bay. The Zelvari screeched in confusion as Park took down the armored units with 2 precise shots. Carter and Patel made quick work of the remaining patrol. Vasquez, still grinning, strolled past the fallen enemies. See? Loud and effective. The team boarded the freighter and sealed the hatch behind them. Patel immediately moved to the cockpit, bringing the engines online. Docking clamps are still engaged, she muttered. Give me 60 seconds. They didn't have 60 seconds. An alarm blared throughout the station. Reinforcements were on the way. Carter took a breath, his mind racing. Then an idea struck him. He turned to Vasquez. Remember that override code we picked up from that syndicate job? Vasquez's eyes lit up. The one that tricked security systems into thinking a ship is already in flight? That's the one. Vasquez cracked his knuckles. Oh, this is going to be fun. Within moments, the docking clamps released, fooled by their own security systems. Patel didn't hesitate. She punched the thrusters, sending the freighter hurtling away from Solera 9 before the Zelvari even knew what happened. As the station shrank behind them, Carter exhaled, glancing at his team. They weren't just surviving. They were winning. The human threat escalates. Days later, the Zelvari Dominion launched their countermeasures. Human trade routes were blocked. Colonies found themselves surrounded. The Dominion believed humanity would crumble under isolation. They were wrong. What they didn't account for was humanity's ingenuity. Carter and his crew joined the resistance, helping coordinate a response that turned the tables yet again. They didn't fight with brute force. They fought with subterfuge, trickery, and sabotage. Patel developed new ways to repurpose alien technology, turning captured Dominion gear against its owners. Park trained insurgent cells, teaching them how to exploit the Zelvari's weaknesses. Vasquez, ever the wild card, engineered a series of misfortunes that saw entire Dominion supply depots explode under mysterious circumstances. And Carter? He led them, not just as a soldier, but as something more. Humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. The turning point. Vordak stood in silence as reports flooded his command chamber. Multiple Dominion warships missing in action. Supply routes compromised. Human forces growing, not weakening. A creeping horror settled into his core. Humans weren't breaking. They were thriving. He turned to his advisors, voice unsteady. We are no longer hunting them, he murmured. They are hunting us. The void of space stretched endlessly before them, but Captain Elias Carter wasn't admiring the view. He stood at the bridge of the Iron Fong, an aging but heavily modified freighter that had become one of the most notorious ships in humanity's resistance. Across from him, Dr. Sambi Patel adjusted her wrist console, overlaying holographic star charts with recent Dominion fleet movements. They've tightened their patrols around the Luthor Expanse, she reported. If we want to keep hitting their supply lines, we'll need a new approach. Sergeant May Park crossed her arms. They're learning. Dante Vasquez grinned as he leaned back in his chair, feet kicked up on the console. Good. That just means we get to teach him another lesson. Carter's gaze lingered on the tactical display. He could feel the shift. The Zelvari weren't just reacting anymore. They were planning. And that meant they were dangerous. A dangerous offer. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The comm system flickered to life, revealing a grainy image of an unfamiliar face, a blue-skinned Illithan merchant named Vesh Tao. I hear you're in need of supplies. Vesh purred. His slit-pupiled eyes gleamed with calculated amusement. And I happen to know where you can find some. Carter exchanged glances with Patel. Illithans were notorious opportunists, known for playing both sides of conflict. What's the catch? Carter asked. No catch, Vesh said smoothly. Only a mutual interest in seeing the Dominion humbled. He transmitted coordinates to an uncharted asteroid belt. There's a hidden supply depot there, lightly guarded. Yours for the taking. Park scowled. It's a trap. Vasquez shrugged. Probably. Carter nodded slowly. But we're going anyway. Into the mall. The Iron Fong dropped out of FTL on the edge of the asteroid belt, its sensors sweeping the void. Patel frowned. No Dominion presence on scanners. Too quiet, Park muttered. Vasquez smirked. Then let's make some noise. The ship maneuvered through the dense rock field, weaving between tumbling asteroids. And then, nestled in the shadows of a massive asteroid, they saw it, a Dominion supply station, brimming with munitions and fuel cells. But there was something else. Something wrong. Carter's got twisted, scanned for heat signatures. Patel tapped her console, and the display flickered. The station was empty. And then, the ambush sprang shut. Lessons in warfare. Dominion warships decloaked on all sides, their energy weapons already primed. Vorhak himself appeared on their comms, his mandibles clicking in satisfaction. "You adapt well, humans," he sneered. "But so do we." Carter's mind raced. They were boxed in, outgunned, outnumbered, exactly where the Dominion wanted them. Vorhak leaned closer to the screen. "Surrender. Now." Vasquez chuckled. "You really don't know humans, do you?" Carter's lips curled into a smirk. Patel, execute Protocol 7. The Iron Fong shuddered as Patel activated their secret weapon, an experimental device that scrambled sensor readings and emitted false ship signatures across the system. Suddenly, Dominion warships saw dozens of phantom human vessels on their displays. Panic rippled through their fleet. "What?" Vorhak snapped, his forces hesitating. Carter seized a moment. "Vasquez, on my mark." "Say no more." Vasquez slammed the control panel, releasing a cluster of detonated asteroid fragments rigged with EMP bursts. Energy surged through the field, disabling several Dominion vessels in an instant. Park fired up the ship's engines. "We're clear." The Iron Fong shot forward, skimming past Dominion warships, still reeling from deception. Patel sent one last transmission, her voice calm. "Lesson learned, Chancellor." Then they were gone. Fear takes root. Back aboard his flagship, Vorhak stood motionless as reports flooded in. Several Dominion warships disabled. Humans escaped. Casualties high. The Dominion had planned for everything, except for humans to outthink them. Admiral Shirax exhaled slowly. "We have underestimated them." Vorhak's mandibles twitched. "No," his voice was quiet. "We have created something far worse." His claws curled into fists. "We have made them dangerous." The Dominion was bleeding. Across the stars, Zelvari warships burned. Their supply lines shattered. Their occupied worlds rebelling. Where once the Dominion had been an unstoppable force, now it found itself under siege by a species it had dismissed as primitive. The name human had become something more than a word. It was a whisper in the dark, a warning, a promise of retribution. And now, Carter and his crew were about to drive the final nail into the Dominion's coffin, the mission that would end the war. Carter studied the hollow display aboard the Iron Fong. A single red icon pulsed at the center. The Zelvari War Corps, the Dominion's primary fleet command center. Destroy it, and the entire war machine would collapse. Patel zoomed in on the structure's defenses. They've reinforced their shield arrays. A direct assault won't work. Park nodded. We'd never make it past their security fleets. Vasquez smirked, which is why we're not going into the front door. Carter leaned forward. Explain. Vasquez's grin widened. See, the Dominion still doesn't really understand humans. They expect us to fight like everyone else. Fleet against fleet, guns blazing. He gestured to holomap, highlighting a concealed service corridor along the War Corps' infrastructure. But what if we don't? What if we do something crazy? Park frowned. I already don't like this plan. Vasquez's eyes twinkled. We break in. The infiltration begins. Under the cover of a Dominion supply convoy, the Iron Fong slipped past enemy patrols, navigating the War Corps' outer security net. Patel worked her magic, faking transponder signals and overriding docking permissions. "All right," she muttered. "We have 15 minutes before they figure out we're ghosts." Carter's team disembarked in full combat gear, moving through the War Corps' lower maintenance levels. Park took point, her rifle at the ready. "Security's light," she murmured. Vasquez chuckled. "Told you. They never expect humans to go straight for the throat." But as they neared the War Corps' main reactor, a deep, rasping voice echoed through chamber. "You are predictable." The shadows moved. Chancellor Vorhak stepped forward, flanked by elite Zelvari guards. Carter's gut clenched. They had been expected. The final battle. Vorthak's mandibles twisted into something resembling a grin. You believe yourselves untouchable. But in the end, humans bleed like all others. He raised a clawed hand. Killed him. The chamber exploded into chaos. Carter and Park fired first, dropping 2 guards before they could react. Vasquez hurled an incendiary charge, igniting the corridor in flame. Patel dove for cover, frantically inputting override commands into her wrist console. "We need 30 more seconds," she shouted. "Take your time." Vasquez yelled back, dodging a plasma blast. Carter's pulse pounded. Vorthak was closing in, twin energy blades crackling in his hands. "Your kind does not belong in this galaxy," the Chancellor hissed. "You should have stayed in the shadows." Carter smirked, leveling his pistol. "That's the problem with you Dominion types. You keep underestimating us." He fired, not at Vorthak, but at the reactor control panel. Sparks flew. The War Corps' automated failsafes engaged. An emergency overload sequence activated. Vorthak's eyes widened. "What have you done?" Patel grinned. "We just made your entire fleet blind." The fall of the Dominion. With its command center crippled, the Dominion's war machine collapsed within days. Entire fleets, cut off from leadership, surrendered. Occupied worlds rose up. The once mighty Dominion fractured. Carter and his team watched from orbit as the War Corps burned, its destruction visible even from space. Park exhaled. "It's over." Patel adjusted her wrist console. "We did it." Vasquez smirked. "Told you humans were scary." Carter let the moment sink in. They hadn't just won a battle. They had changed the galaxy. The name that echoed in the stars. In the Dominion's ruins, a legend remained. The Zelvari would never forget the species that had brought them low. Across the stars, one word carried new meaning. Human, a word that once meant nothing. Now it meant fear.